Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fuse Show. Today, I'm joined by my guest, Jovan Stojanovic. Jovan is a serial entrepreneur with 12 years of experience in tech with a focus on AI. He's the co-founder and CEO of Anari AI, which is a company building the hardware AI industry from scratch by delivering a new way of designing and using AI chips in the cloud. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invitation.
You bet. So let's jump right into this. Give me an idea of what you're doing at Anari, and also just a use case example or two.
Sure. Yeah, Anari AI is a startup actually that is rebuilding the hardware industry from scratch by delivering the new way of designing, deploying, and using cloud AI chips. Okay, what does it mean? Like these days, like AI is growing exponentially. Like it's really crazy. Like every 3.5 months, we have doubling in AI model complexity. And with that pace, and also if we combine that with the hardware current status in a sense where like the infrastructure is not really scalable to our needs, we have a really huge problem. And what Anari is doing is actually delivering the new like framework language for hardware people to be more agile, to be more creative with the like hardware design, where we are capable of actually delivering 10 times like faster development cycle than like current approach, okay, which is really crazy. On top of that, we have also Anari platform, which is actually a big deal, where just imagine that you have some kind of a canvas where you already have like some kind of building blocks of a chip where you can combine them, and actually from those kind of blocks, you are able to extract like accelerator chip that is focused on some specific like algorithm. What we are delivering then is actually something where also besides like complexity in design development, there is also huge like problem with deployment, integration, and actually accessibility for your chip there, where actually we are putting everything in the cloud, where it is now really easy for a bunch of like customers to actually consume our chips. I like to say you don't need to have like a Ferrari in your garage, because probably you just want to have a drive from point A to point B with your Ferrari. And that's what we are delivering, like really the smartest like computation in just one click. And by that, actually, we are like redefining like industry. We are allowing like application companies in different kinds of segments, from like a biotech, genomics, automotive, whatever kind of industry, to have custom accelerators that are fully tailored to their own like algorithms, which is really crazy.
Man, that's remarkable. I think that's excellent. I want to hit on a little bit of the spirit of Anari, and I found something on your website, Anari.ai, that I really liked. And this quote is, "Our strength is the spirit that belongs to rebels. Rebels were those who decided many times in history that it's time for the change. Also, rebels are those who have to decide now what the future will look like." So tell me more about, like, that's not an insignificant undertaking, like to have that ethos. Like, I want you to dive in a little bit more, if you would, what that means to you.
Sure. There are a couple of really important points from that quotation. First of all, we see that future is fully reconfigurable. I truly believe that tomorrow, or even like today, artificial intelligence is the most important like technology ever that human like kind will ever actually build there. And with that kind of pillar, we need to think how to support it adequately. That tomorrow, every single company deserves to have a chip for themselves. Okay. Today, if we want to have that, it's mission impossible, because like all the toolkits, all the physical like barriers that we have are struggling against you, where if you want to create your own chip, it means actually that you need to spend 3, 4, 5 years in creation of your own chip. It means that now you need to spend like dozens, hundreds of millions of dollars to create something that will be specifically tailored for yourself. And then there is a huge problem with the pace of artificial intelligence, in a sense where things are dramatically like changing. I already like mentioned that quote. Actually, that is a report from OpenAI from last year. And it means that, for example, let's say you want to create your own chip. Let's say in January, you start like doing some preparation, coding, etc. And let's say in 3 years, you develop something. It's a question, did you put all the necessary assumptions in January? What's going to be your market need in 3 years from now?
Yeah, that's
with
hard.
a really huge pace there.
Mm.
This is really crazy. And we think until now, like chip design or chip accessibility in that sense was reserved to only big guys, like big companies that have like money, etc. And we believe that democratization should also happen in this space, which is really one of the most complex kind of industry domains ever seen. Like chip is one of the most complex products ever built by human. And actually, Anari believes that like change needs to come from the ground. Like we need to help like individuals, like small teams in the hardware space to be capable of creating their own chips significantly easier with like a new energy, focusing on business needs, like just like that. I like to say, to share that analogy. My co-founders are not maybe aligned with that 100%, but like 30 years ago, to develop a website was like pain in the ass. You needed to develop on a really low kind of a level, every kind of HTML code. And then like Wix or WordPress came with all the templates. And now you're focused on like business problems, man. That's truly important. Did you actually create like specification of your business value that you want to create? And then you have like toolkits where toolkit is actually helping you to compose everything in a really smarter way. And we truly believe that something from like those kind of patterns, frameworks should be also be applicable or should be also a point of interest in like semiconductor space.
Okay, so help me understand. So help our less technical founder audience, which includes me, understand some use case examples of how this may be used, either currently or in the future.
Sure. For example, if you're a company in, let's say, I don't know, biotech or in gaming, and you have some specific algorithm that is truly important for you, you created some AI, which is like really delivering you a big value there. Mm-hmm. Right now, your approach is actually going into two directions. Okay, if you want to run it properly, you can use on-premise like chips for yourself, where you can use like big guys and general purpose hardware, which is not fully aligned with your own like algorithm there. Okay, and in most of cases, what's going to be like solution, what's going to be like the case is actually that probably your machine learning team will need to adapt to infrastructure where that's a bad like direction, because like it should be like opposite. Like infrastructure is just like a support for yourself, and that is crazy. And on the market, you will find just like general purpose hardware, like big guys are creating, I call it like bulldozers, where if you throw like a bunch of data, there is a good chance, okay, they will collect some points there. Mm-hmm. But right now there are a lot of like specific like applications who are looking for like custom kind of solutions. And then let's say you want to have some kind of a custom solution in that space. Oh boy, this is really crazy. It means that then like 3 to 4 years of development, tons of money for doing that. And the problem is, it's not your core business. If you're in automotive or like in gaming, it's not your core business to create like chip that should like support your own kind of workloads there. Okay. And we see that things needs to be like changed there. And that's why we are approaching with this current like solution there. And also, I just need to add that Our team, if we are talking about like a quote there from our website,
Yeah.
we are coming from a really, how to say, economically small country or small region where there is no pedigree for like big kind of companies or big startups, etc. And it's really unique that we have a courage to attack really complex problems. And to be really confident and really good in actually creating those kind of solutions, and of course motivating others to join our journey there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wanting to understand a little bit more about AI and training data, and specifically how that relates to human involvement and support. So our primary business provides customer support to fast-growing startups. And a big segment that we've not yet tapped into is working with AI companies in general on training data. And now keep in mind, I'm certainly a less technical founder. One of the things that comes to mind is like Tesla, for example. They're working on their self-driving software, and they need a lot of data, a lot of feedback. So their testers are out, compiling all of this information, pushing the button when the car screws up. And my understanding is that that's manually processed, at least to some extent, by humans. So help me understand, like, where do humans get involved with this from like sort of a support and training data perspective?
Sure. Maybe just to add that, like, if you're talking about like AI machine learning, like you have two groups, like training and inference. Like training is a place where you are doing like preparation of your data set, you are validating your machine learning model, like you are in the research area, okay? And when you create something, then okay, probably you want to put that in production. Like your application will use this kind of AI model to do some specific like workloads there. And that second group is called like inference, okay? Those are like two main like groups here. What is right now like current status in the industry, that it's mostly focused on like training, where like big guys are educating about that, etc. But real deal is actually inference. In 2 years from now, like inference market will be 3 to 4 times bigger than training market.
Okay.
And if we are talking specifically about the training for your question there, yeah, that's not so sexy kind of a job as you can imagine there, where most of the like activities are related to like preparation of data, where you need to clean it to like prepare it properly. And I always like to say, always you have like human in a loop there. It's something where we need to do it like properly, because if you have garbage in your data, probably you will get garbage after your like ML model there, and you cannot do like proper training segment. But also there are like applications like startups that are helping with this. For example, also our first chip or our first solution is helping also labeling some points in 3D kind of structures significantly in a faster pace than humans are capable of doing that. Okay, this is like specific kind of a problem, but still I believe like humans needs to be in that loop there. Okay. And then let's say you prepare your ML model, it's working just fine on your like test like data set. Then you need to go in production, and then things are becoming really complex in a sense where then you need to squeeze every kind of millimeter of your performance to deliver the best performance, but also to optimize the costs. Where specifically, if you're talking about like general purpose hardware, that's not the game for them. Like big guys are not good in that domain there. Okay. And that's what we are like targeting there.
Okay. So what, to help me understand, what is inference as it relates to AI? What does that mean exactly?
You will create, for example, in your training, you will create an ML model. And let's say you're satisfied with the outputs in your, let's say, garage everything is running perfectly. And then, for example, your application is doing some kind of computer vision, okay? You want to do like some image recognition, okay? For example, your application will, I know, take a photo of a plant to extract is it like disease or not, okay? And then inference is a part where your application will call that ML model that is commercially or production ready, which is tailored specifically for that like problem there. And it's that actually it's inference, it's focused on that, like production ready usage of machine learning in your application for specific algorithm, for specific like computation.
I see. Okay. Golly, it's so fascinating. And I can see this area just exploding like crazy. And it's neat that you guys are on the vanguard of that. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. So speaking of that, so tell me a little bit more about the Wonderland AI Summit. I think that's coming up in October, right?
Wonderland AI Summit, yeah. I just also, I think it's good to share with your like participants here, to share like the general story about like journey of Anari and entire like ecosystem.
I'd love
like 5 years ago, I started building AI community all over the world. And I created a community of more than 30,000 people. The reason why actually I done it, actually one of the reasons was to learn what are the most complex problems in the AI. And from dozens of like conversations, dozens of our internal projects, we learned that one of the biggest problems is actually infrastructure. How to get like custom scalable infrastructure for your AI. This is like a huge. We created actually Wonderland AI as a hub where right now we have like 5 different kind of organizations. And Wonderland AI Summit is one of them, where actually 2 years ago, I founded one of the most innovative AI events in the world. We actually hosted a couple thousand of people on the event and hosted really big names and big players, companies like Facebook, Google, IBM, Mercedes, etc. And we actually opened a dialogue, like global dialogue discussion around artificial intelligence. The plan last year was to scale it significantly on a bigger level, but unfortunately Corona came and we needed to go into virtual space. Again, this year it is still like not the best and smartest move to organize like a physical event. And still also this year we will have like Wonderland AI Summit as a virtual kind of event where we are expecting 2,000 people, 120 like speakers, where we will have like top-notch investor funds like Atomic or Early Bird, ACL. Startups will be able to pitch their own like ideas, what they are doing there, etc. And also we will host really big names from companies like Samsung, PwC, Deloitte, Amazon, etc.
Wow. 30,000 people community in 5 years. That's remarkable. How did you even begin to build that?
Yeah. Actually, I got invitation a couple of years ago to join one community, which is called like City AI, which is actually a global community focused on exactly like building like a proper network, building like local ecosystems in specific like cities, combined or like augmented in one big like global network there. And actually I help that community to flourish and to expand its own like presence. In this part of world where I am, I actually created 7 like local like chapters. And yeah, we started like talking about like problems, about like solutions, what's interesting, what's hot, etc. And AI is definitely a sexy topic these days. And that actually discussion resulted that we have really motivated and proactive people who are interested to learn more about this. who are interested to help or to like implement some AI in their own like applications, startups, companies, etc.
Yeah. Congratulations on that. Like that's seriously impressive. I
Thanks.
love hearing that ground up approach. I mean, it's amazing. That's awesome. Hey, tell me a little bit more about your nonprofit. We were talking about that offline, and I think it's phenomenal. It's a wonderful thing. So I want to hear a little bit more about that, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, this is for me a really important like topic. If you're talking of like from the philosophical kind of a view about artificial intelligence, a lot of people are afraid because of this technology, but also in a lot of cases, people are not maybe aware what AI could really bring to us, where there are a lot of like problems in the areas where there are like thousands of people around us who are not capable to have like life like we have or we do every single day there. And my story is like emotional. It's like a personal story where my sister is a kid with a mental disability. And like when I was really young teenager, I started like putting different kind of questions in my head there. Why this, why that, what's the reasoning, how our brain is functioning. And actually that led me to start investigating artificial intelligence, etc.
Wow.
I think that AI is truly remarkable, and it will actually deliver a lot of potentials in different kind of areas. And that's why actually I started building one unique lab for brain reasoning, for brain research, focus on actually developing technology for assistive technology for kids with a mental disability. Where our goal is actually to have like non-profit like center that eventually will become some kind of a center of excellence, where our focus will be how to understand like our brain, and based on that to create artificial intelligence that will be augmented and that will be helpful in sense where people who are not maybe capable to listen, to see, or to understand some points with that technology will be on the same level like we are. And that is something that is really, really, really important with like Angellico Center. We want to like amplify like inclusion in a sense where like people with disability will have a chance to be, I believe, a truly productive piece of our society in some sense. And that's actually motivation around like Angellico Center and everything what we are building with that.
Wow. Good for you. That's a beautiful story. Help me understand. I don't want to leave this just yet. Help me understand, what is your vision for kind of the before and after? You know, like what, so Chaya, by the way, I have two adopted children that have special needs as well, mental cognitive special needs. So this is something near and dear to my heart as well. And I'm curious to better understand what your vision is for the before and after state of the way that their brains are processing information, et cetera. What do you hope to achieve?
Sure. For example, let's talk about our initial project. We are focused on like kids with autism. Where right now in education kind of centers for those kids, you don't have really a personalized or tailored kind of a service in a sense where those kids will actually get like personalized like educational methodology that truly triggers their own kind of activities mechanism in the head. Like, okay, you have some kind of a curriculum from some group of doctors, and then that is actually pushed to like kids to learn to work with that, etc. And that's not something that is truly delivering like momentum where like those kids are learning there. What we are trying to do is actually based on some brain sensoring and some artificial intelligence in domain of computer vision and natural language processing, combined with like unique Angellico educational methodology, where we have like a group of experts in defectology, in psychology, those kind of areas that are more domain like specific, with of course focus on kids and disability groups. We are capable to create like a process and educational like materials, like content that will truly create some new value. Okay, you will see that specific task is triggering their own like cognitive processes, and based on that you will be able to measure, to mark, okay, this is working, this is not working.
Oh,
It's not going to be something that is like general purpose like focused. And with that, we truly believe that we will be able to create augmented service, something that will expand also knowledge, perspectives, also for doctors and educators that are already doing and helping kids there. Because also it's a really problem for those guys to really understand like every person, and also physically it's not sustainable or capable. They're not capable to spend that much or that sum of time per individual there. And with the technology they will be capable to understand what's like going on in the real time, or almost close to real time, where based on that they will be able to calibrate their own kind of educational kind of a process, to learn, to adapt, and to create something that will be a bullet that creates a value at the end.
wow. You know what I find interesting is you have a passion and a drive that like, I haven't heard you once talk about, you know, what amount of money you're going to make or how rich you're going to get or whatever. It's like, I know that's a consequence of a successful business, right? That's a benefit of a successful business, but it seems like you're driven at a much deeper level than just merely making, you know, creating wealth for yourself. Why? Like, what's at the root of this passion that I can hear?
Yeah, that's something that is really important. If you're talking about the organization that actually I founded and people that I gathered, the most important aspects that we are looking in the people is actually passion. If you don't have passion for some, I know, things what you're doing, like problems that you want to solve, then your life probably will be pretty stressful, because these days like things are changing rapidly. Every single day you have something new, something where you need to adapt. Like competitors will kill you if you don't actually deliver fast, etc. But if you're passionate about some problems where you truly believe in something, then that will create like momentum in your head, where every single day you will be satisfied because you are trying to crack something that is huge there. You're attacking some problems which are super helpful and important for our society. And then magic happens. Then you actually start like communicating with others. Then you discover that in this world you also have like passionate people who are not talking about the money. Money for me is just like a result of a good value that you deliver at the end. And if you find a problem and create a proper value, you will have money. That's not a problem at all. Like money, you can find everywhere in the world. I'm passionate about problems. I'm passionate about discovering different kinds of ways how our society could be even more smarter, where we will help those who are not maybe capable of helping themselves, or society is not maybe focused on those kind of aspects. And if you're talking about artificial intelligence, that is, as I said, the most important innovation in human history. And we need to find the ways how to create a good environment, good infrastructure, where other people will be able to create some beautiful applications, some beautiful concepts, new kind of ideas, new algorithms. This is really important.
You know, I think one of the most challenging problems that passionate founders face is scaling their passion, multiplying themselves. Because at the end of the day, you're one man. There's only 24 hours in the day, and you're probably going to sleep 6 or 7 of those. You've got a family, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have other responsibilities, other priorities in your life. So the key, I think, to expansion or to further reach, to accomplish your mission, your purpose, your passion, is amplifying yourself, right? Which means, to the point you made earlier, finding people that are passionate, that can deliver that. Even better, like, none of us know how long we have on this earth, right? Like, you and I may drop dead today. And it's like, well, like, there's a sense of urgency that compels me to, like, I've got to move this vision forward, right? Like, it can't be about me, or not forever, right? Like, it needs to grow beyond me. So how do you think of things like that, where you're multiplying your efforts and driving people, like finding people that are driven and passionate?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, fair.
The reason why I actually started building communities exactly because before that moment, I tried a couple of times to build like a startups, and I failed. And the problem was, in most of the cases, if I can extract like the most important like problems, actually was a team or like people who are passionate enough about some problems there. And in most of the cases, I had situation that I was the guy who is delivering the most in the conference room, or for other kind of points where of course, if you're in a startup and you're trying to do something, there is plenty of problems that you need to solve.
Yeah.
And I started like I try once, I try after that, etc. And then I saw that if you start building like a community, there you will probably find people who will come after their own work to learn something new, to network with some people with some specific kind of spirit. And probably there is a good chance to find someone with a similar kind of perspective in this world. And actually that happened like 2 years ago. I organized one meetup here in Novi Sad, and that was really like successful kind of a meetup. We have, I don't know, 70 people there. And at the end, one guy came to me and he wanted to discuss, and he had like a friend with him in that like space there. And that guy, like his friend, he didn't want to talk with me at all. Okay. And I was smart. I bought a beer for like entire meetup, like all the participants there. That was a really good growth hack for me. And then I started talking with him. Okay, what you are doing? He said, okay, I'm creating some chip for like AI, something really small. I said, okay, I'm doing this and that. And there actually I met Stefan, who is one of the co-founders of Anari and entire like Wonderland AI, where that guy was the first guy who really delivered what he promised, where he promised something on this level and then deliver something that is above that significantly. And for me, it was like, okay, this is the first guy where I have some kind of level of communication that I'm looking for. And we started like building like Wonderland AI ecosystem, Wonderland AI Summit together. We created also Serbian AI Society, which is also a non-profit, which is actually, it's gathering 180 top like researchers, entrepreneurs that are in some connection with Serbia, where we have really top like people from like DeepMind, from Cambridge, from Berkeley, MIT, etc. And then we had tons of plans for like last year. We started doing this and that. We actually onboard more than 60 people in our like team there. And then Corona came. And literally like first day, Stefan was part of Continental. Actually, he was part of that company, and in part-time, actually, he was working with me at that point of time. And I succeeded to push him to give a quit at that job. And it was really interesting that first day with like full focused on Wonderland AI, was the first day in Serbia where actually they announced like this alert situation with COVID. Everything was closed. It was really crazy. Literally 20 projects that we had in the pipeline were like closed there. And we had like a struggle how to survive. Literally, we didn't have money we had money for like 3 months. Where like Anari actually was built because we wanted to survive. I would say like that. And then actually Stefan said, okay, I have one really crazy guy who might be also really good like match for us here. And actually I met Bogdan last year, at the beginning of last year, where we started talking about like Anari. We had idea to start with more kind of shallow steps to see, to try to validate the market, etc. And when I saw actually also like level where Bogdan is and what he achieved so far, I was amazed. That guy actually is more than 13 years in the hardware space. He's holding a PhD in electrical engineering, which is not something that could be okay. It's not like a big deal at all. What is a big deal for him? Like 3.5, 4 years ago, in his house, small apartment, he started building a new language for chip design.
Wow.
Because he was pissed off with current kind of a toolkits, which are pushed by like big guys, where nothing especially hasn't been changed in the last like 20, 30 years. And he was pissed off because he actually wanted something smarter. And you just can imagine one guy sitting in small apartment in Serbia saying, okay, all the big like names in industry are bullshitting about like the way how things should be organized and how things are right now in a place there. And he started actually creating something what is tomorrow one of the big aspects of Anari. And then actually we started building Anari, and literally we incorporated our company in States like in October last year. And in only 3 months, we succeeded to close like our seed round, led by Early Bird, one of the most interesting or biggest like venture capital like companies in Europe. They are now famous because of IPO with UiPath. Everything started like actually scaling exponentially.
Yeah, never underestimate a determined Serbian PhD. I love that, man. That's such a great story.
That's that momentum you ask about, the quote on our website. That's that rebellion kind of spirit.
Yeah, okay.
Because man, you need like balls. You need courage to start doing those things. Okay, you need to have passion, and you need to have really a different kind of mentality to jump into those areas, because it's really painful. At the end, it is really painful. But if you have a passion, then okay, you can build some kind of a trade-off at the end.
Yeah, and obviously high agency thinking as well. I mean, he didn't like what currently existed, so instead of just laying down and being like, "Oh, I guess I'll just accept this," he's like, "No, I'm going to come up with a better solution." Like that's now. So here's what I find even more challenging. It's hard enough to find co-founders, and the network idea is just absolutely brilliant. But how do you amplify this with your staff, especially as you scale? That principal agent problem, the alignment of incentives. How do you think on that as you scale, where ideally everybody or nearly everybody in the organization has that same degree of passion?
Yeah. That community kind of perspective, it's truly important for us, because in my organization right now, I have 100 people roughly, where like let's say 80% or 70% of them are actually volunteering, where I actually, I'm not using that word at all in my organization. I actually created like environment where kids and all people with talents and passion could build like their own dream job. Okay, everyone literally could come in Wonderland AI and ask, okay, do you have something for me? Okay, and then my answer is, okay, what you want to achieve in your life? Okay, what are the problems where you're passionate about? And then I see, okay, where that kind of a skill set is pluggable into in our ecosystem. And then actually what happened, for example, I have entire team in Anari where those kids, literally kids, actually were part of Wonderland AI Summit more than 1 year, actually coming and volunteering for us because they were truly passionate about our vision, about our mission, what we want to achieve. And right now, I have really like people who are really preaching our vision because they truly believe in that. Not because I told them, okay, this is our vision, you need to learn it by heart and tell everyone about it. They truly believe in that, okay? And then, okay, you have momentum. And that's how we are building like our internal capacities. And when you have like a team where most of the people or your entire team is breathing that vision, it's also really interesting when you have some external or new kind of people that are actually joining that organization, because there is a principle called like herding, social principle called like herding, where people will actually align with the values that you have in the team. And of course, at the beginning, in your recruiting kind of activities, you will be looking for those kind of characters, for those kind of a skill set, for that kind of a mentality.
It's so fascinating. I know this is like totally unrelated, but it reminds me like when we fostered children for 10 years, and it's interesting because we would bring in children that were from a really rough environment, and almost always they would assimilate to the culture of our home. And I think that same principle applies. And I think that's what you're saying is that there's that assimilation, and it makes me like, we have a staff of 40 now, and it makes me a little anxious. Like, I don't know that I've done enough. It makes me concerned that I've not done enough to convey the vision and make sure that, especially as we grow, that the sort of entry-level staff understand that. I feel like our leadership team does, but I don't know that I can say that our entry-level staff does. I feel like there's more that we could do in that space,
Yeah, this is like a really tough problem. For me as a CEO of organization, the main goal is how to build more leaders in my organization. Okay, that is my primary task to do. If I actually do it in a proper way, then my customers will be happy. We will have bottom-up innovation kind of cycle where really good ideas will be visible. People will be really happy to share their own kind of angles. Yeah. For example, in Anari, every single kind of idea is challenged by entire team. Okay, there is no kind of a hierarchies where, okay, I'm a CEO and I'm untouchable there. Okay, junior positions are capable of actually challenging every kind of a decision with the info they have, where of course I will answer with the facts because of this and that. But that is actually creating really a good feedback loop, where with that you can really grow and grow with really quality kind of and healthy kind of fundamentals, actually blocks that tomorrow will be a good amplifier for other kind of initiatives that you want to have there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. Let's finish up, wrap up. I want to talk to you a little bit about sales and relationship building. I want to talk to you about a lot more, but I know we're short on time. But so let's talk about that a little bit. You have some background in sales and certainly, obviously, in relationship building. So how do you think of sales in general, and especially as it relates to building relationships with prospective clients?
I think that these days people are not really good listeners. I think that's one of the really big kind of problems. These days you have like, I know, bulls who are just saying their own stories, like you have a template, you have like a pitch there, and just like talking about your own kind of a vision, your own product, etc. But magic happens when you really listen to your other party. And if you can do it in a proper way, it means that you can extract like the pain points. Then you will create empathy. You will create something that is really a healthy relationship, and you will create trust. The biggest problems these days, of course, one of the biggest is how to create and build trust. And for sales is just like that, okay? If you have a customer who really trusts in your own expertise, then it's easy for you to communicate. It's easy to suggest a new kind of feature, functionality, approach, etc. But I think everything comes from that listening like perspective. And what is really important also to maybe emphasize, there are people who are listening, but listening how to respond properly, which is wrong. I try to listen to understand. Okay, there is a good like difference between those kind of segments, because when you're listening and trying to create like your response, your answer, then you are talking about your own kind of values, about your own product, etc. And then probably you will not have some kind of effective output that you want. But if you listen to understand, it means that you truly care about like your own customer. It also creates additional value, where then you can create all the pivots necessary in your own kind of pitch or in your own product, etc. And it gives you like significantly better chance to create success.
Wow. What causes you to feel like you're being listened to? What kind of feedback do you receive to feel like you're making that connection and you feel like that the person is genuinely listening to you?
Also tough question, but yeah, you can feel it. Like I know, I think that I have really strong empathy. I can really feel other kind of a party, but from response, from the answers, you will see, okay, is he really bullish on his own kind of views? Is he open to see different kind of I know opportunities in some segments? And also the sometimes, or I would say pretty often, from my experience, you have situations that people are not maybe going on right level of abstraction, and they're truly focused on some kind of details. And then if we cannot connect our details properly, then there is a problem. But maybe if you abstract some elements, there is I know potentials for different kind of angles, different kind of groups that could be integrated significantly easier, where then you will actually go into details how to do this and that. Of course, that is dependable case by case, and of course you need to you will have different kind of cases. But sometimes I truly feel that you have a bunch of like sales guys who learn what are like the good like USPs for their own kind of a product, and then just saying about that, okay? And if you ask about some kind of a different kind of perspective, which is feasible, sometimes it's tricky to understand or to go further from that position.
Well, I know we need to land this plane, Jovan. It's been a pleasure. I'm confident we could fill 3 or 4 episodes, or maybe a lot more than that. I really appreciate your time. You shared an incredible amount of wisdom, and I particularly enjoyed this conversation. So thank you for your generosity and sharing your wisdom, experience, and your time as well.
Thank you for the invitation. It was a pleasure. And yeah, once again, thank you for having me here today.